r/AskReddit by Redmond Dts. What's the most awkward thing that's ever happened during a one night stand? Spent 30 minutes laying on the bed with her sucking my dung and screwing. Then her 14-year-old brother climbed out from under the bed where he was hiding. This was the first one night stands I had ever had, and I had no clue what I was doing. None at all. When I showed up, I suggested turning on a movie. I figured we'll cozy up during the film, and hands will start going places, etc. You know how it goes. But I'm a huge nerd. A computer nerd especially. And her laptop was riddled with viruses. I had never seen such a messed up PC in my entire life. She also had no movies, and this was actually before streaming services. At this point Netflix was DVD by mail only. So I figured no biggie, I'll just download BitTorrent and find a movie real quick. But I couldn't even get that far due to the state of her PC. She had animated ads and shit running on her desktop. If it was a human I would have pulled the plug. So instead of being able to find a movie, or just saying, F it let's just get naked, my inner nerd started to fix it. And she fell asleep while I fixed up her PC. Then first thing in the morning we finally did the deed, only for me to finish in about 1.7 seconds. This is the first time I've ever told this story in any capacity. Probably the dumbest thing I've ever done. Met her at a metal alternative club on my birthday. We got back to mine, and the electricity was off, which was fine as I lit a few candles, and it set a great mood. The next morning I'm awoken by 10 of my friends as they've arrived at my place to abduct me for some day drinking at a brewery. She had to walk out of the bedroom to 10 guys side-eyeing each other. What made it worse was that she couldn't find her glasses, which had meant she couldn't get dressed either, so she had to walk out in my duvet and ask for help. The final straw was that, because I was going to be drinking, I couldn't drive, so I had to ask one of my friends to give her a ride to her place, and she ended up sitting in the back and me in front. There is no configuration in the car where it isn't awkward. She ended up giving me her email address, which she never used, and I didn't question it for a second. A few months later it occurred to me that she had handled that whole situation super gracefully, and I'd had a lot of fun, so I managed to track her down. Been married 16 years now, and she still handles all of my idiocy with grace. Longest one night stand of my life. He nutted in his pants before I had a chance to do anything and blamed it on my ferret. She turned on in ire, then started crying after we finished and told me I was her first since her boyfriend died a week ago. It was pre-Uber, so I walked 5 miles home in snow that night. I told him I was having my period, and he said he didn't care. I gave him a BJ and was getting up to take out my tampon, but he took off my underwear and pulled out my tampon. It happened so fast I didn't even realize what the F was happening. He said he has to pee anyway, so he'd just throw it out. Kinda freaked me out that he did it so smooth, like no fumbling for the string. I hooked up with a single mom once, and when I woke up in the morning, she had gone and got her kid and refused to leave in the morning. So I was basically hungover, sitting there with a little child running around my house, and this girl just sitting on the couch watching TV, repeatedly complaining that I have nowhere to go. Finally got her out eventually. I hated that. Poor kid. She was on top and riding on me. She reached into her night table to get something to spice things up. I expected a vibrator or something similar. She pulled out a really big safety pin, and before I could even ask, she was piercing her own nipple with it. I was 19 at the time, working as a security guard at a mall in New York. Been flirting hard with this gorgeous girl that just started working at the Hollister. One night she asked me to give her a ride home after closing because her car was having issues and her ride bailed on her. We got to her place and she asked me if I wanted to come up and smoke a little weed, which I was down for. Things progressed pretty quickly once we got upstairs, and before I knew it clothes were coming off. She's just absolutely stunning, and I'm basically drooling at this point. Everything is going super well, and indications are good that this is going to be more than a one-time thing. We are about 40 minutes in, and she's ready to go all in now. She wants to start from behind. I spread those cheeks to get that view we all love before taking the plunge, and what do I see? Just to the side of her butthole is a pebble-sized chunk of poo. I make a split-second decision that well shit happens lol, so I'm going to try and swipe that son of a bitch off of there and keep going. I make a move, like I'm slowly massaging both of her butt cheeks and slide both of my thumbs one on either side slowly up the crack of her but you know, and success along the way. I get that little bastard. But this is the moment where I screwed up. I hesitated because I didn't know where the hell I was going to wipe it after I got it off of her. In that moment of hesitation she glances over her left shoulder and sees the chunk of poo on my thumb and loses her ever-loving shit. I'm going to be 40 next year, and in all the years since I have never heard a sound quite like the sound that came out of her in that moment. It was like a screaming banshee. She jumps off the bed and runs out of the room sobbing. I follow and she locks herself in the bathroom. I spend the next few minutes trying to talk to her through the door with her screaming at me to just leave and crying, so I left. I try to message her throughout the morning the next day, but she won't answer me. I decided I'd try to have a word with her when I see her at work, but when I got to the store they told me she quit that morning. I never heard from her again. I caught the most abusive cramp in my leg, and she thought I was coming because of all the noise. He came after immediately putting it in. I'm no hater on performance. I've had sex plenty of times where the guy orgasmed pretty quickly and it doesn't bother me much, but this time made me feel gross. He put on the condom, stuck it in, and I thought the look on his face was kind of weird. Then he pulled out and I asked, "Are you okay?" He didn't even respond. And the condom was stuck in me, full of his stuff. He didn't even take it out. He made me do it. I'd also like to add there was zero foreplay beforehand, so I received absolutely nothing from this interaction. I told him I just wanted to go home after that. I never spoke to him again. Definitely when his mom walked in on me screwing him. She had a key to his place and decided to just come let herself in. She was so quiet, I never heard her enter his apartment or walk down the hall to his room. She was horrified and, rather than go home, decided to wait in the living room for us to finish so she could talk to us about it. I asked him if he felt okay discussing it on his own with her, safety thing, you know, and he insisted it was fine. She tried demanding I stay, and I was like, nope, not happening. So I left. Told me he'd never been with a woman who weighed as much as him. I farted during our deed. She thought it was her kitty. I laughed, and she was embarrassed. She thought I was laughing at her. Met a girl in a bar in Kingwood, Texas. I lived in Humble, which is right next to it. We had a few drinks and decided to go back to my place. She kept telling me how good her head game was, and of course I indicated that I needed proof. She was really great until she gagged and threw up about 10 lemon drop shots on my dingus. I showered with her, still smashed. We dated for about a year. Ran into his mom at the store while we were buying alcohol and condoms. Got real awkward when she asked him how long we had been dating, and he said, "I met her in a bar tonight." I woke up the next morning and found my car had been towed overnight. That was an awkward ride to the impound lot with the girl. Had an amazing night with a really beautiful man who was visiting from out of town. He said he was staying with his aunt and cousins. We destroyed her bed. Destroyed it. The next morning I'm doing the walk of shame down the driveway as the aunt walks up. His aunt is my 5th grade teacher. Later, she was my son's high school principal. I skipped the PTA those 4 years. I started crying. He told me to stop crying because he can't finish if I'm crying. I leaned in at the same time that she leaned back. She knocked out my tooth. I took a chunk out of her scalp. Bad times all around. I thought she kept calling me Joy during the deed. My name is not Joy. I stopped and asked her, "Are you calling me Joy?" She said, "No, stupid." I said, "Choke me. Put your whole hand in me." I didn't have the heart to tell her that it had been for the last 5 minutes. I had a woman tell me she wanted me to make her cry. So I called her fat and ugly. I found out immediately after that she meant like slap her or choke her a little to be freaky. She did in fact cry and then left very soon after. That's all folks. Thank you for watching. If you like videos like this one, why not like and subscribe for more. Have a nice evening.